everyone, this is Karis. This is going to be the first of probably more than one videos on this subject because it's a big subject. Second chakra, which is creativity, sexuality, money, and I'm going to be mostly speaking to women. I know that this will probably speak to men as well, but I really know it a lot better from the perspective of the women, so I'm just going to go from there and intend that this help whoever it helps. So, sorry I'm a little shaky. I'm here at my tree. I'm down in the bowl of it right now, so that's above. And then I'm actually sitting in this area here, see? And all these crevices down here, I'm actually in one right now that I excavated just a few minutes ago. Like, there are, see how there are these leaves and stuff in there? Well, actually, it was like that where I'm currently sitting, and I'm reading this book, which is actually one of the first spiritual books I ever read. Might have been the first one, and I picked it up in the bookstore and stood there for like 2 hours, completely shocked at what I was reading, because that was the first time I'd ever encountered anyone else who even spoke about intuition at all. And this is the book. It's called Anatomy of the Spirit by Carolyn Meese. It's very good. I really like it. I've listened to one of Dr. Meese's audio lectures, and actually I really like the book personally a lot better. I feel like it's just a lot easier to connect to, and it just kind of takes you through the chakras. So I'm rereading it, doing more excavation on my own chakras, mostly my second chakra. For me personally, my second chakra is the one that I've had the most trouble with in this incarnation, and I think that it all has to do with the divine feminine coming back and seeing sexuality, creativity, individual power as sacred rather than as something to run from. And I know that when I was growing up, and I know that this is true for a lot of people, because actually in my readings, this is something that comes through kind of a lot, is women owning their own power and owning their own sexuality and sensuality without apology or embarrassment. For a lot of us, when we first come into our sexuality and our sensuality and our adult beauty as adolescents, we pick up this really weird vibe from especially the other women, especially grown-up women. And I know that I definitely did where I grew up, probably highly because of the racism in my community and stuff like that, so I wasn't allowed to date anyone. So what ended up happening was I was perceived as this like dangerous vixen who would like seduce your son and steal him away, which was not true at all. I mean, I was actually, to put it all out there, I was like the last one of all my friends to even lose my virginity, period. So I was actually kind of a prude, which I don't know if I would have been that way if it wasn't for this really strong vibe. I think I still would have, because I was just pretty comfortable with waiting, and peer pressure didn't really get to me on those things. But anyway, back to the, you can see, I don't know if you can see, but my hands are all dirty. There's dirt under my fingernails, which is awesome, because as I'm exercising, you know, exorcising and exercising, I guess, my second chakra through visualizations and energy work and affirmations, and realizing that actually the power, that's true. I mean, sexuality, you know, that was the first form of currency. People have been accessing God and the divine through sexuality since there have been people. So it's a very strong power, and one that has been taken from women, and one that women take from other women, because that's what our culture does. We learn that, oh no, I can't be sexy, I can't be powerful in that way, because then I'm bad, then I'm dirty, then I am untrustworthy. And that's something that's really powerful in a bad way in our culture, is you can't allow your sexuality to show, because if you do, then other women can't trust you, then men can't trust you to be honest, and you compromise your intelligence and your other power because you have sexual power, which when you put it out there like that really does not make any sense at all. But it's this underlying current thing. But actually, something that came to me several months ago as I was meditating, it was a very random download that came to me, but it was about the second chakra and about specifically the uterus and what the uterus does. And I'd never read this or heard this anywhere else. But I was in this meditation and my guides began talking to me about high heels. And they said how high heels are the current foot binding for women because they make you walk without using your hips. And that is true. I hardly ever wear high heels anymore. I'm kind of against them most of the time. I probably will wear high heels maybe 4 or 5 times a year tops. And whenever I wear them, I feel like I'm walking like a horse. I know that's a very strange thing to say, but I do. I feel like I'm like clip-clopping around like a horse. And what was shown to me in that meditation was when you walk on flat feet and you allow your hips to guide you, your hips end up moving in this figure 8 infinity symbol, like a flat figure 8 where one hip guides and the other does. And what it does when you do that as a woman is that the energy from your second chakra is allowed to circulate through your body. And not only the energy, but the hormones created by your uterus are allowed to circulate through your body. And I didn't know that before my meditation. I hadn't really thought about it much, but I just considered that, you know, blood flow through the uterus makes the interuterine tissue and or intra, you know what I'm talking about, the stuff that sheds when women have their menstrual cycle. And then when you menstruate, you get rid of it and then redo it. But I didn't realize the blood comes into your uterus and then circulates out carrying all these life-giving and really important hormones that actually carry a lot of important energy and power. And when you allow yourself to walk with your hips moving, then you allow yourself to live fully because those hormones can circulate through you and you can be more balanced and powerful. It's funny, as I'm speaking, I don't know if you guys can see this in the video, but it's really hard for me to keep my hands still. I'm getting all these energy surges through me, making me have all these tremors. So that to me says, must be working. Great. So anyway, I started trying to walk using my hips, and there have been times in my life where I was more or less comfortable with my sexuality. Usually when I'm exercising a lot, that makes it easier. When I was teaching fitness classes at a university that I got my first master's degree at, I was teaching lots of yoga and lots of dance aerobics and things like that, and I was very comfortable, and I noticed that I moved differently, and I was more graceful and more sensual in my emotions. And I loved that feeling, you know, but when I wasn't forced to use my body a lot, I would squeeze up into my upper chakras, you know, like a toothpaste tube. And my lower chakras were not comfortable housing my spirit. So I would walk very stiffly and almost float around. And there's nothing wrong with floating around. Physically, it's, you know, a graceful way of walking, I guess. But it is when you don't use your lower body and you don't live in there. You're supposed to live in your whole body. And what I noticed after getting that meditative instruction on how hips moving helps the second chakra and helps the physical body as well as the emotional and spiritual bodies, I started trying to walk with my hips again, and I noticed all of these negative emotions surface about myself, about how dangerous it is to allow your sexuality out, about how I might be perceived as a vixen in a bad way, or someone who other women wouldn't like and wouldn't be able to connect with if I allowed my sexuality to flow, someone who would scare men, and this is not men I was interested in, just random men, or someone who would give off a bad impression to men and make them think that I was sexually promiscuous or something like that. And actually, see, whoa, big tremor, actually none of that happened. And actually, as I've been activating my second chakra more and more over the more recent months, I've come onto in a rude way, you know, when men catcall you or something like that, less than I ever have before in my entire life. And it has to do with that empowerment. So there's a lot more to say on this. There's a lot more to figure out, but essentially, to end the video, when I was sitting on this tree, I started excavating. I took this little stick, and I was just really compelled to start digging out one of these pockets here. And yeah, I'm sitting on it, so you can't really see it, but it's under there. See how, I don't know if you can see how clean it is now. It took me like a half hour. And the tree told me as I was, and I'm clearing out all this stuff that had been turned into compost, you know, dead leaves and dirt and dust and sticks and things like that were kind of stinky and kind of, you know, just, they were compost and they were kind of awful, you know, of the, not AW, but OFFAL of the tree. And the tree told me it's kind of like, this is gross, but true, I guess. The tree told me that it was like cleaning out your belly button, you know, when you clean your belly button, there's stuff in there that needs to come out. That's what the tree said, and I could see what it was talking about. I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense to me. So, then it was no shock that I was compelled to do it as I'm clearing out my own second chakra, as I'm advising other people to do the same as well. So anyway, I hope that was helpful, and I think there will be more, because I know I'm not done with my clearing yet, and I expect my energy to drastically change once I fully embrace my own second chakra power. And I think that that will happen to a lot of you guys too, especially you women, maybe you men as well. But anyway, go in peace. Ooh, there's another tremor. Sorry about the shaky video work, guys. Go in peace. Have a great day. I'll talk to you again very soon.